Good afternoon, Professor Hunter, and good afternoon. I'm bowing to the wonderful John Jennings. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. What? Okay. So good to talk to you.
Good to speak to you too. You know, we stalk your Instagram at Calabash.
No, I didn't know that.
Huge
Yeah,
fan.
that's why he was like shaking his head no when you said you bowed to him, so
I'm
people
like,
couldn't
what?
see that because he's like, "What are you doing?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
would
I'm
you
on
do
radio.
that?"
I can't wait.
Yeah,
What? Okay, well, that's extremely kind. Thank you so much for saying that.
I want to have this conversation with people, because I feel like we need to examine everything, right? I'm reading The Debt by Randall Robinson. I'm reading Inflamed, which is like changing my whole perspective on the medicine, but it's not even about medicine. I'm reading, The Coming. I'm, immersed in these graphic novels now. And thank you, John, for sharing. And I'm seeing that it's time for us to imagine the world that we want to live in and stop allowing people to tell us what they're going to do for us and expect reactions, right? DeSantis is cosplaying. He wants a reaction. It's Black History Month. And he did this to distract all of us, that we're focusing on him, saying his name, focusing on what he's doing, and not saying, okay, what is the impact on our community? And what do we really want in these schools? Are the schools servicing our children? Are they producing children that critically think, that challenge the system, that are out here in the streets changing laws? Or are they creating better followers of the status quo? And this is a question we should be asking ourselves, and we don't ask it enough. So, Dr. Alman, you got kids in school, you in them streets. What are your thoughts? And I want John to absolutely ring in.
I will say this, that my oldest graduated from Florida A&M twice. So she's a psychologist, and my youngest is at Clark Atlanta University. And so they're kind of out of that primary, secondary education level. But I will tell you that I deliberately started both of them out for the first few years in a African-centered based, pre-K all the way through second or third grade, because I felt like it was really important for them to understand that their primary teachers are an extension of their parents, and to have these Black men and women whom they refer to as Baba and Mama at school, who care for them in that extended family way. This is the way we should be treating each other, and this is what community is all about. So they carry that seed within them. Because if you just don't get along with somebody there or at an HBCU, a professor, it's not racial at that point, right? It's that there's another problem at work.
John, on the college level, I've been teaching for 25 years. This is the last 5 years, I've been questioning every semester, what am I doing? So I decided to do something different the last 5 years, which is to actually prepare my students for the world that they're going to live in, which means I'm going to introduce them to things, and I'm not going to test them on what they can regurgitate. And I'm going to force them to think. Yeah, all of the things, right? And I'm bringing in this semester Sophia Noble's Algorithms of Oppression for my journalism students. Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm doing some things, and because what are they paying for exactly? What are they paying for? Are they paying to be taught something that will be absolutely useless? So I think it's incumbent upon us in these schools to do something, but the schools are broken. So I've come to that conclusion too. And it's a business, it's a factory. It's a factory that takes your money, and a lot more money than ever. Like, I'm looking at the prices that people are paying for in education, and you get nothing when you get out, unless you're going to be a doctor or something. But what is that going to bring back to you? Can you make that money when you get out and you got $200,000 in loans? It's ridiculous. John, what are your thoughts?
Highly difficult. I was thinking about what you said about the grammar schools, being broken, or that idea, or like, where we're coming from. I get kids who don't have a lot of critical thinking skills. Like, they're coming in there, they're willing to take a test. I don't do tests either. I did away with them because they want to check off boxes. They want to, like you said, regurgitate things back to me. I do practical applied knowledge, right? So I used to teach a class called Applied Semiotics, right? Where we basically used to look at the language and look at like symbolic communication and make things from it. So for instance, in my horror class, you know what our final is? They have to create a map out of the sunken place. From Get Out. So
What?
Get Out, they have to create a map as art project to get out of the sunken place. Nice. I have them like writing, as far as like creatively and thinking through these things and applying the stuff that we're talking about in the class. Now, as far as like high school and school before they get to college, I don't feel they're broken at all. I feel like they function totally fine. I think they function the way that they're supposed to be. They're supposed to miseducate. They're supposed to like divide. They're supposed to actually like create like people who are sheep, that kind of thing, who are not critical thinkers. So I think they're really well designed.
Like police.
Right. Exactly. All this stuff is well designed. It's not, it was never, you're trying to educate people who are not even supposed to be able to function in society. And, this world was never meant to be, for us. Right. I always tell my students, like, Black folk in this country only had really 3 spaces that we're supposed to be in. And that was the slave ship, the plantation, and the grave, and then rinse and repeat. That was it. So anything after that to me is speculative, right? That's why I love speculative fiction so much. So yes, in my classes, I actually have a really high participation percentage too. Like if you don't talk to me, you might fail this class. Seriously, I need to know.
Same. Me too.
I need to know what's in your mind. Do not tell me. Actually, this particular class period and this quarter, I had one student repeat back to me, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," right? And he repeated it. I said, "That's a test." He just gave back to me what I told him. Then I said, "Let's talk about what kind of dog you have. Let's talk about the symbolic communication around what foxes are. Why is he a brown fox?" And so I said, "You see, we just had a conversation about this sentence. That's why I want to have a conversation with you." So no,
my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm an art teacher who teaches in a media studies program, and they're like, "Who is this dude?" So,
no, well, to piggyback, my first assignment in my writing class is this book called On BS. Frankfurt wrote a book on BS, and it's a long, winding book on literally. And the assignment is so I'm very specific, write an essay less than 300 words on this book. And I always get 300 words, but really I'm looking for one sentence. This entire book is period. That's the assignment. Nobody has gotten it because they're so used to, I got to write a paper. And they haven't critically, this whole book is, why am I writing this? No one's had the courage to even do that. And so that's the first assignment. Everybody fails it. And then we start. Yes. Wow. Dr. Amin. Yeah. Let's dig in. I brought you in early. Well, not early, because you're supposed to be here anyway, but I wanted John on, and I wanted you on with John because as a doctor, both allopathic and holistic healing, you are a comic book nerd. I guess that's a compliment.
Big nerd.
Okay. But I want to know, because we teach children, this is your lane. Jack of all trades, master of none. Stay in your lane. Well, you can't like all of these things, but I think the power of being amazing is that you like all of the things that you like.
Right. I mean, isn't that the whole opportunity and lesson behind even a word like university? I mean, you're supposed to have this universal experience that exposes you to many things, not parroting things back. That's not right. 101 and 201 and 102. And, one of the things I think is very interesting about you saying, John, that you don't give tests is that, to me, that's the meter of an instructor who really wants the person who's listening to you to succeed. Because giving someone a test and deliberately trying to trick them, oh, that's a trick question. There's even a thing called a trick question, means that we are then, as teachers, because I teach every day in here too, we are testing for or expecting mediocrity. And so why let someone into your class, into your midst, into your school, into your milieu, if you do not anticipate pouring everything you know into them without them exercising their education in fear? And this is what helps us flower as individuals. And when we look to our African traditions and indigenous brown traditions, we sit under a tree with an elder. We talk to elders. They ask us to speak back to them in terms of, like, what did you hear that I said? What did you learn? And we have stories. It's an Anansi story. It's this story. It's what, and those are the allegories. This is how we learn. And when we just sit, imagine an elder sitting and giving you tests like that. It would be crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
I was going to really quickly say, before I taught media studies, I taught graphic design, for over 20 years. So we're talking like design methodology, like I said, applied semiotics, design studio. And I also created, along with my friend Eric Benson, who is an amazing climatologist and designer, by the way, this class at University of Illinois called Ethics of the Designer in a Global Economy, EDGE. I love acronyms. Anyway, so it was the first ethics course ever taught in the art program there. And now it's required for like it's like 5 sections taught, required for 2 majors. But I was thinking about this because I wasn't just trying to create like graphic designers. I wanted to create citizens who happen to design.
Right.
So they need to be citizens. They understand like what your responsibilities are. You have this ability to manipulate art, to create symbolic communication, to basically, to a certain degree, move people's minds. And the question is, should you, if you have that power? So we talked a lot about ethics. Like, just because you can do this, should you do it? You know, because a lot of good designers end up working in marketing, advertising. You know what I'm saying? Selling us stuff we don't need.
Right. You know, I love
sorry,
that you said that. I'm so sorry.
No, I just going to give out the number. Go ahead, continue.
Yes,
Dr.
please
Sunyatta.
do. We want to talk to the people.
866-801-8255. Dr. Sunyatta Amen is here. John Jennings, award-winning graphic novelist, producer of all things, professor, and Dr. Amen, producer of all things health, mind, body, and soul. I just want to say before you continue, I got a lesson, and I didn't know this in class with Dr. Carr. He learned how to reading comic books. And I think there's some parents right now, and his father would give him the money, even though he was like, these funny books, why are you wasting money on these funny books? But it opened his mind to the possibilities. And there's some parents right now who don't want their kids reading comic books because it's not serious. But I think it's absolutely important that however your children arrive at reading, whatever they love to read, let them read and read abundantly. That's all. I wanted to say that. But go ahead, Dr. Amen.
Well, I love that you said that. Being a sci-fi, speculative fiction, comic book nerd myself, my parents being very serious academic people, never limited me in that, which I really thank them for, because it wasn't that they didn't anticipate that we would read other things and have discussions. But what I thought was very interesting was that it was about imagination. Right. So the idea of imagining worlds, imagining stories. And as Octavia Butler, one of our favorites, said, that there's nothing new under the sun, but there are new suns.
I love that.
So the idea that we can create these spaces where we belong, especially as John was saying, that maybe we don't feel like we belong in certain spaces. I mean, if we're no longer on a plantation in this country, it's clear that our one job after that was either to be of service or to die.
That's right.
And so our very existence taking space and being in spaces is offensive to some, because what are you doing, Black person? Like, why are you here? Why are you still here? The country's built up. We have robots. We're good. Like, you outlived. And this is no different than the Windrush generation of Caribbeans who were invited to go clean up after the war, after World War II in Britain, et cetera, who then outlived their usefulness. And it became the same police state after that.
Woo.
All that, man.
Yeah,
right.
Yo, when John said slave ship, plantation, grave, that ran through me. And so we're the people that could not be killed in places that you may not want us, but we were here first. So we're going to reimagine the world, and you're going to sit here and take that because we're your grandparents. So take this medicine.